two aircraft. Compared to the rest of the world, it's small, but still it's sustaining about, as for Druk Air, it's sustaining about 500 people for now. And it's still growing stronger. But right now, due to the COVID crisis, it has really been a huge loss for the aviation world all around. That's just giving note on the thing about aviation around the world and aviation in Bhutan. Now, in particular, to talk about a pilot's life, the requirements to be a pilot. So the most important requirement is the passion. You need to have the passion, because passion is the most important thing which keeps you alive. Not just to be a pilot, for any profession. Excuse me. You need the passion. You go after money. After a few years, you get tired if you don't have the passion to do that particular thing. So passion is what I feel is the greatest requirement as a pilot. Then educational. So it depends from country to country. As for Thailand, they need a bachelor's degree to be a pilot, and of course the pilot's license. And same thing for India, and they have, more stringent rules and regulations put in place after late 1980s in India. So in India, they require the particular person to be a science student in 11 and 12, and after that to have a bachelor's degree in a science-related field. But for Bhutan, the situation right now is just 12 complete, 12 graduate. After that, you get your license, go back to your country, stand for the interview, and then get into the job. Then mental, you should be mentally fit, mentally strong, physical as well, physically able to do anything, do not have any disabilities. So for that, you get a medical certificate. They have a category medical certificate class 1, class 2, class 3. But it is always recommended that you get the class 1 medical certificate. Because at the end of the day, when you get into a job, you will, that's a requirement, medical class 1 certificate. So mostly from Bhutan, they sent the pilots to Thailand to do their medical examination. And in Thailand, they either sent it to the Royal Thai Air Force Hospital or Bangkok Hospital. So that's the thing about the mental and physical health. As for the age, for the training, the minimum age is 17 years old to start your training. But you should be very careful about when you finish your course and when you want to join into a career. Because as for Bhutan Airlines, the minimum age is 18 years old. But for Druk Air, the minimum age is 21 years old. So you should plan ahead. When do you want to complete your course? When do you want to get into a job? Because at 17 years old, you might finish your high school. You might go to a pilot training center, get your license, come back. Maybe you're 18 or 19 years back then. And then you'll have to wait for 2 years if you want to join Druk Air. So you should be very careful, because it's going to be a lot of expenditure if you keep on waiting, because your license has a certain date after which you have to fly again to keep it recurrent. That's why you should be very careful about your age. And one thing about the mental and physical, you cannot have any body tattoos as well. And another thing, until the age of 39, your medical test will be every 1 year. After that, it will be done every 6 months. So you should be very careful about your mental and physical health. The phase of training, as for mine, the first thing is private pilot license. Private pilot license, you get the license, but when you get this license, it's like getting a private driving license. You cannot carry passengers for hire. So that's what private pilot license means. And after that, it comes to the instrument rating. Now, private pilot and instrument rating, the difference here is in the instrument rating, we fly in instrument conditions, which means we cannot see outside reference. Usually in private pilot, we use the outside reference, like we see mountains, we see rivers, we see buildings and such things. So we use visual reference to fly. But in the instrument condition, we solely use the instruments inside the airplane cockpit. So for that, we have to train using only the instruments. And after that comes the commercial pilot license. After you get your commercial pilot license, it means it's like having a professional driving license in Bhutan, like driving a taxi. So you can carry passengers for hire. That's the difference between private pilot and commercial pilot license. Then comes the multi-engine. Multi-engine, so our aircrafts have different types of engines. Some aircraft have just one engine, some have two, some have four, some have three, and some 6 and 8 as well. So the multi-engine gives you the power to operate an aircraft which has more than one engine. Can be twin, then triple, quad, or anything more than one. Then after you have these four license and ratings, you're eligible to stand for a job, for an interview. After you get into a job, the next thing is your type rating. The type rating here means the training for the specific type of aircraft. Say, for example, you're flying an Airbus A320. You will be sent on the particular training for the particular aircraft. And you have the requirements to fly that plane only, not the other aircrafts. Because different aircrafts have different instruments inside. So you specialize in the specific aircraft. That's ATP, type rating. Now ATPL, it comes almost at the end. So before you become a captain, there are many stages until you become a captain. So when it's time for you to become an airline captain, you need to go through your ATPL. It's called Airline Transport Pilot License. Most of the time around the world, it takes about 5 to 6 years to become an airline captain. But in Bhutan, due to the challenges and less flight hours, people usually take around 8 to 10 years and some even 12 years. So the Airline Transport Pilot License gives you the ability to operate as a captain of the aircraft. That's ATPL. Now that's with the phase of training. To talk about a usual day for me at my institute, Civil Aviation Training Center in Thailand. The day starts around 5:30 a.m. in the morning. I get up around 5:30 and take a shower, then get dressed, come here. And at 6 a.m., we have the morning briefing. In the morning briefing, we are briefed by the supervisor of flight, which is like the TOD in the schools. We get briefed, it's like our morning assembly, about the day, about which batch has class, which batch has exam, which batch is flying, something like that. And we get information about the weather as well. The most important thing of flight, the weather. Then if we have classes, we go and attend the classes. If we have flights as per our schedule, we go for the flights. Then even before we fly, we have to go and brief with our instructors about the plan for the day. It's like which route we are flying, which aircraft we are flying, whether the aircraft has any problem or not. We need to do everything. Then what are the plans for the flight? What airworks or anything we are doing in the flight. So we have to discuss it beforehand before going into the flight. Then after we return from the flight, again there's something called debriefing. In the debriefing, as a student pilot, we will have to critique ourselves, our performance. We need to know what good has happened and what was not satisfactory in the flight, our performance. And then our instructors will be sharing their experience with us. So they will be sharing their comments to make us better by the days. Then we have exams, which are divided in theory and check flights. The theory exams, we have home exams as well as government exams. So government exams will be done by the Civil Aviation Authority of the particular country. As in Thailand, it is the CAAT, Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand. As for the check flights, after we have the specific flight hours to get checked, then we have to send the documents to the CAAT. And after we get the permission to get checked, the DCP, which is designated check pilot, they'll be checking our performance to see how we perform, whether we have the required knowledge to get that license or that rating or not. Then we go for the flight, and they'll be checking our performance in the flight as well, how well we fly, and what we need to improve and stuff like that. So if they feel we are not good enough to be a pilot, not good enough to pilot an aircraft, so then and there, our exam results will be issued. Either we'll have to stand for a re-exam, or we won't be able to fly for the entire life. So that's a decision point for us. And that's all from my side for my day or my life as a student pilot. If there's anything you want to know, you can send in the chats.
If you have any questions, you can send in the chat, or you can ask, unmute yourself and ask.
Okay, one question is, how many years do I have to fly to become a flight captain in Bhutan? Now this depends around the world, the years, because as a pilot, you don't work on years or months, you work on flight hours. And your flight hours depends, because it starts from the time when you get inside the aircraft until you deboard the aircraft. That depends. Generally, we have to accumulate 1,500 hours to get our ATPL license, airline transport pilot's license. Usually in Bhutan, it takes about 8, 10 or 12 years, around that. It depends, because sometimes if we are flying the Airbus A320, it goes to international destinations. That's why we get more flight hours compared to flying the ATR, which does only regional flights and domestic flights. Okay, someone has, which is your best aircraft, as mine is Queen. Okay, so personally, right now I've just flown 2 aircrafts. So my favorite to say is the Diamond DA-40, because I've only flown that aircraft. Rest of the airplanes have just been passengers. So maybe sometime later when I get to fly another aircraft might change. Okay, there's one more question. How was your first experience? Speaking of which, the first experience, when I first came here, I didn't have anything. I mean, I didn't know anything about flying. The only thing I knew was basic mathematics, some science, and some geography, which I learned in my middle secondary school. That's all I knew. But coming here, what we think is going into aviation is a totally different science. No, don't take it that way. You should definitely be, you should definitely have the zeal to learn. That's the most important thing when you come here. Then you should have basic mathematics skills, because you have to do many calculations in the flight itself. First thing, you need to control the aircraft, which is called aviate. And second thing, navigate. You need to know where you're going, because you cannot fly like that. You need to know which route you're flying, which direction you're going, at what altitude you're flying. Then you also need to do the calculations. You need to calculate your aircraft speed, because there are many air speeds, and also about when to start descending, when to start climbing, things like that. So you should have basic mathematics skills. Now coming here, it was new because aviation was totally on a different side. of course, what we learn, we start from the basic. That's why it's been easy. But the basic things, it's not like we study, not like the science we study in our schools. Of course, not totally different, but not totally the same as well. So my first experience here was totally getting into it and starting a new chapter of my life. And to speak about my first flight experience, it was thrilling. It was really nice to actually fly an aircraft, to be able to fly an aircraft. And of course, it's very rewarding when you get high in the sky and you look down, the view is really nice. So yes, it's very nice, the flight first experience. But of course, I would admit my legs were shaking during my first flight. But over time, it gets well.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Jimmy,
that's it.
Jimmy, thank you so much.
Sir, last
Because
question.
of the unstable network at my place, I couldn't introduce
Yes.
you. Probably the other co-host might have introduced you. I just like to tell the room here that Jimmy underwent the 10th leadership training at the Military Training Center at Tenchiling. He studied in Drugal Central School while he underwent that training. And then currently he's working, he must have told you that he's working or undergoing training at the Civil Aviation Center at Hua Hin, Thailand. And it's very good of you to come and then take a session so that the young people here would be inspired to chart their own course in their lives. And it does help, Jimmy, you should smile, why are you so serious?
So that's become a habit.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. And Chara, if you want to stay back, you can stay, or if you have some other errands to run, then you can go. Thank you so much, Jimmy. I'll get back to you later, and we hope we'll be able to fly with you someday.
Thank you, sir.
We hope so. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. Anil bindi nga chi hong le kari che session ni to pala. Bindi kari che te che di te wa. Sai. Sen gai ne. Nam chu dira za du za. Ngachi ki lerem da nam sami disena se me ko ta ngachi lerem ni re. Da ngachi ki na pum chu chi na le chemi pini Prina Suba. She's a medical student undergoing probably medicine at Sri Lanka, and she'll be reading us a poem. And a poem digi media ani lo Johnson semba ngi sipadrona. Ani the humanness in her ribcage se na anzum chi me ani mogi hadi pyung lo. Yeah, Prina.
Hello everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will begin with the poem. It is titled The Humanness in My Ribcage. It is an English poetry. I patch myself up with these pieces of the little world I had made. I don't really have memories that I so cherish or feel terrible about. I grew up as a backup person, living up to the expectations of the world, even if the people never included me as a part of the significant world. Because kindness gave me strength and my bones ached for that strength. It didn't matter if my insecurities nailed my feet to the ground. I knew who I was and I had to be that person. But as I watched the children younger than me plucking grasses off the lawn and gifting it to the sun above, as I watched my mother fight her traumas, and as I watched the people waking up to carry the burden and so easily smile at the strangers they met, I began to fall in love with the universe, with the people, and with the tiniest thing that existed with effort. My burden diminished inside of myself. When I woke up in the middle of the night, and thought about the world that lived through all the turmoil and still rejoiced history. The same world that mothered children who grew up to destroy each other and blame it on the earth for being harsh on them. I cannot make the people understand how it feels to have a bomb dropped in the middle of a world that would turn everything into a history, which will one day live in some pages of unread books and forgotten poetries. I cannot make the people understand that we are just a speck in this universe. We have to let things flow through us and not rise in the hatred for the blood of our own brothers. But I can be kind, and I can love the people for who they are, and I will always love even if it aches. Thank you. So this was the end of the poetry.
Prina, thank you so much. Are you in Bhutan or abroad?
Currently, I'm in Bhutan only. I will be leaving for my college probably in November.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for your point. Thank
Welcome.
you so much. We really enjoyed it. I hope you'll
Thank you.
share this with us, your point.
Yes, surely, sir.
Thank you so much, Prina
Yes,
Subha.
sir.
And when you're undergoing MBBS, you're going to go for MBBS or BD?
MBS, sir. First year.
MBBS, okay. Hope when you come back after 7-8 years, and I hope we'll still be alive.
Surely.
Thank you so much. Da ngachigi that lerim the halam thaila. The sangitempa chigi mi di itam sangpa se tsunume. sangitempa gi. Da ngache sangi khandu iptichi bo be sangi khandu iga. Sangi khandu. Change la sangi khandu.
Sangitempa, sir. Sangitempa.
Oh, sangitempa. There was sangitempa gi mi di idam sangpa se goe boy. 이덤 상파 세츠는 와 상게 템파야
Well,
야 다음서
lasta tadabara garalu kuzamoda chetsiru dile sugila. Tatari the gedroda challenge se gache mila. Tatu tangaragi rumna devi rodalu. Ta hemangani long dambana debda fastina debdalu magina. Jingi ailu ani sikina lebe sanskritna lebe. Somsi sam divila ani dinalu habi bige shudola. Ta semme galafa.
아치 슈베 땅고베
Lasula. Tani ailu kasum ailu ngagi sikina lebe somsi sam divila ani din habi bige shudola. Semme galasa.
Atsi shuve tangola.
Laso gomatila. Tana jane jinjingi ailu sikina be somsi sam divila ani di ta hema first year bi debdalu ta sikina be te habab dising kablu ailu somsi sam divila ani habi bige shudola. Tarin semme gala.
고엘라
Lasula. The Sangel Hali Batigi, Dichinda del Sevilla. Kenchu Shipa, Dinchin Amala, say. Tangachigi, Yumchin Amadi, Dinchin, Kenchu Shipa, Sigumiti, the Kenchu Sumla the Garakin, the Kenchu Sumla Talu, the Kenchu Shipa sitting Aragisu Divilla. The Kenchu Shipa the Gadebe, the Chivisha, Shajamoza watching the Yumchin Amadina, Mr. Mikarin, Kenchi Imaritini, the Nigisom Dinalu, Kenchu Shipa, Dinchin Amala, Sejavilla. Ninka yibe tamsu hichulu tari tati zambola shido sila tani bedalu bunga leki amai nyela khor taugu sadamipa sidine amai nisimipi kamyopo novekadu ami segi sivirede sela zamling nawi nimane ikin jipra chungwi jongkhero se ipi zamling ami singchubze kadu thamche ipi dewa jur tani ki gachila me sewachin zamling nalu ke aigi birth se once ngachina birth pe deliver besabi shilu jitin ju jitin jipa juwe dongkhero labasin ta ngachigi zamling dinalu ta obstacle gadebe challenges kadin ki face pe de bereyang kadin ki jungil nyondi bereyang ipi zamling ami singchubze selabasin te zamling dinalu kadin ki jungil phonde bereyang aigi pe ngachigi denle fight deme simela te kadu thamche jipi dewa jur sewachin ke aigi ke ngachiregi isi dinalu netang gachizum thedi bereyang kangil gachizum thedi bereyang aigi kangil tham ke kangil de sugara seshin nalebe sugara peace happiness ewalu judi name simela rani mechang yeni kidu sel ame rebe yesi jipala cheda ngosa yepa geparchu ula dewa yena rantel song se ralu medi bereyang te shenle kidu sel anebe bujilu name samiti erotame simela te amagi rewa yere yese kongragi membership be kongragi bujilu ime simela cheda ngosa yepa geparchu la wasinda cheda ngosa kadimchi guilty kadimchi rogi backbite criticism kadimchi belsi kireya te rangi chiudi hanarangi ngosaniya te jakha kosha be aigi debe ngachilu teme simela tele zenu mechang bushi dendunyar mahong bushi sendan tentabla tawi zedang nevi iduchi chungu kanta bompo middle su selawachin te zanidi chunkuchili mesi kireya yanji hintoto medi besi kireya te aigi rang toki di bereya rang khakum di bereya aigi khongkhora zani chuni memachinebe kongragi bushigi denlo ami samidi preserve shadi de bujilu jimme simela amere te yese jipala tele zawe zedang nevini duchi ta aidina me samidi bushidi te bom suni bom lejumbe rodang tenda chanigi denle te role machu be chanigi denle aidina me samidi zawe tole chi nevini le chidi gibena me samikauchi de tele chumkanta ja bom midigi midilu sime simela bunga jarin jose tepase yumsin ami sajin yutenna tamne jepa bungi sajamme nani nala sodo ni yumsin selawasi tata tungara college na de viditalu mapa aigi chika chini di disemindu te iruya te aigi na mesame thetera jutinna le patata te jutinna le lo lab jutinna lo lami garata aigi ta disu yanjinta lo le talo lo labe lapse tat aigi samigi sage chamsi gadevegi so zatoka jimegi ga sirigi luju chamsi ime chimela dangi tadari som dinam simi boring chi thindo tani bedalu the jokes ke nam simi gane mi jira ine tat ngaragi ten agi ki chi so be te nabuda chi khalu lolam ni gi disichi namachin la chimegala sir
Goela, goe.
la sonam ki bezang
La.
sabinda chigingalu diwa
Kati dual.
tangaragi agi ki kena be ta darna phogi netang lu gadevera deduga ani ki pore thunku chi chugela tahe nampang asot coronavirus thoba gala ta nama samege sajela nama samegi gacheba nama sewa tode tape ta sajela ta manela ja ta sajela shu be dedo ta runalo tabe dedo ta nabu gadevera dedo raga ta nama samege sajeti yebela ta runamge gachera bedo tahe nampang
Never got the way at na. True, my don't hold not betty. Again, I get to two with the way.
다 저기 꼴레 말라 다 아겐 남의 사메게 다 다른 남바 가져도 남아서 남아 사메게 사절한 남 이냐 보수 다 저소다 다 레선으로 수도 이거 마파 다 아게 다르 갑게 다 토선 마파에 따니미 따마수 다 남아 사메게 가도 된 남아 사메 대도 맞다 다 나선 보사 bomde서 남의 사메 자름 다 대중게 야름 따마도 아직 나는 남의 사메게 다시 제일 이마다
那罗马之间就是那这边木对吧？就那二这外，就那就是白面了，那个人那就是什么样子外？
아직 제가 가렸다 보면 가는 속에 진짜 아마도 딱 내경계다 레칼레 파다 딱 레칼레 파다 딱 초래다 딱 마녀라 장다 다른 남의 섬에 차상세요 나 부초다
Matu
Thank you, Sanjay Tempa. Karin Karalu, Darigi, Merendi Amchib Judoe, Libele, Nagive, thank you, speech in Kenalu. Good evening, everyone. This is the end of today's Young Drill program. Before we wind up everything for today, I would like to thank the Scout Secretariat, all the Scout leaders who made this possible today, and all to my Scouts that are present here today for the program. This wouldn't have been possible at all without you guys. Thank you to all the speakers and also to Sir Sachin for making the wonderful offer and offer to the Budni Scouts Association today. Kara Luka Dinche Sishuni, the Larem di Amchibe Chidukue. Thank you for joining us.
Everyone. Thank you so much. Navale Daru Cheomula, Navale Chenamel.
5 p.m. every evening.
So, Chera sir, thank you. Then I Garalutani Pigada, Caesar Chila, Caesar Sheila, Caesar.
Dinchela.
그린체라
Sir, Matu to Bekar Karla.
So, I can on some to set to money bune never shook down a current show. Hi, Namgi present show.
So last
Namgi
sir.
Shah, do right.
Last, sir.
You know,
Example,
Mazo, this moment.
That's
Hey,
that's
Chile,
it.
Jampo, Pina, Chini Tupa, Carolo Carice, Sishudo, Carice. International Peace Day, Chamatok National. Tashi Sring, sir. Bye.
Yes, very plan based. Not Tiligang, he is a Tiligang.
Oh, Tele Kileta Shinamge, Jamyang. Thank you. Tele Jamso, Dojrappa, Kiletem, Itam Sangpa, Semiti, Mie, so much. Sherap, bye. Jimmy Tile, Kariche, Chador, Sangihandu, Sangandu, Mepema Eden, so on. Sangi Repunso P. D. Doji, sir, Karinche, Ishe, Kariche, Ugen, Pema Kariche, Pema Dema, Kariche. Chado Gese Kariche, Sangi Sring Kariche, Sring Deka, Nathan, Sir Karinche, Jigmisal, and Denzel Ladron, Sring Pinso, Tash Pinso, Tawa Dema, Pema Eden, Karmal Hindu, Sonam Tenzin Palin Karinche, Vanisha Bai, Sachin Sir Bai, Kili Palin Bai, Yum, Bai, Yum. Then Theong Lazin, Jamyang Chimi, Yanchin Dema, Sonam Topden, Raksha, Pema Eden, Bye bye. See you soon. I'm going to end now.
Lasso, sir. Bye, Lasso.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Lasso, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nice.